And I would love to, at this time, turn it over to Jenna to get us started with our first session on Giving Tuesday and year-end fundraising and how you can marry those together. And joined with us is Melissa Benjamin from Fiverr Children's Foundation. So thanks, Jenna.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Candace. Happy to be here and happy to be with Melissa. They do such wonderful things at Fiverr. So I'm happy to kick it off in just a moment here. Let me just get myself together here real quick.
All good.
And I'm just going to share my screen with everyone. Yeah, so we're discussing Giving Tuesday and year-end fundraising. So we'll take a look at Fiverr's strategy and how they're able to marry the two together. So welcome, Melissa. And if you'd like to just share a little bit about yourself and the organization now, that would be great.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I already said my name, Melissa Benjamin, Director of Development, Fiverr Children's Foundation. We are a youth development nonprofit, been around for about 22 years. We work with young people here in New York City as well as Central New York from ages 8 through 18. We make a 10-year commitment to each child. So they start with our program at age 8 and they stay with us through age 18. Our program focuses on social emotional learning. So really all of the tools and skills, most people think of them as soft skills, but to build up the confidence and the grit and resilience of our young people to be able to navigate the world around them. We do programming throughout the academic school year, out of school time programming, and then the hallmark of our programming is a 2-week summer residential camp experience at our Camp Fiverr in upstate New York, in Hamilton, New York. And I've been doing fundraising for 14 years, and I have been the Director of Development at Fiverr for the past 3 years.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like exciting work that you're doing right now. And thank you for sharing a little bit more. We're going to just talk about how to connect, how you connected Giving Tuesday with your year-end fundraising. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about last year's campaign. Yeah, can you tell me a little bit just about how exactly Giving Tuesday plays a role in your year-end strategy, and then I can share your campaign from last year.
Sure. I think of Giving Tuesday as like the digital arm of our end of year appeal. So it's not a separate campaign that's siloed from our end of year appeal efforts. It actually typically has this similar messaging and graphics and things like that we use for the end of year appeal, mailed appeal and things like that to our donors. And it's a part of our overall just like end of year like strategy of both engagement with folks that give us money and then fundraising from the people we hope will give us money.
I see. Great. So practically speaking, how do you actually connect this campaign to your fundraising?
Yeah, so I firmly believe in not reinventing the wheel, and it takes a great deal of like creative effort to come up with the theme and the just kind of the look and the feel of what our end of year appeal will be every year. So rather than try to come up with a different message, a different, graphics and things like that, like I typically, whatever it is that I come up with for the end of year appeal, I just slightly tweak the messaging for Giving Tuesday. Because typically whatever it is that we're planning on doing, like they all kind of flow together. And our Giving Tuesday campaign typically targets a different segment of our donor population, as well as a lot of first-time donors. So for those reasons, they may or may not be getting our mailed appeal. So it's not like they're getting like repetitive or seeing like the same thing over and over. It's just kind of having a unified voice across all of the things that we're doing at the end of the year.
Got it. So do you mind just talking me through a little bit about that timeline for your communications and what format that all goes through?
Yeah, so I'll full disclosure, I probably should be, and it's my goal for next year to start in September because I feel like the deadlines tend to creep up on me every year in the end of October. I don't know why, but in any event, we typically start in the fall in thinking about who it is that we want to be sending our end of year appeal to, things like that. and the crafting of our messaging and working with our graphic designer to come up with imaging and all that kind of stuff for our end of year appeal. And then the next step is to start working on our Giving Tuesday campaign. So once all of that copy and graphics and all that stuff has been confirmed, then it's just more of just like adding like the Giving Tuesday logo like that you see there on the banner there, but just adding the Giving Tuesday logo to the imaging that was already part of our end of year appeal. And then tweaking the message for like the copy that's on like the Giving Tuesday page. And then the next part is doing outreach to our fundraisers. We run our Giving Tuesday campaign as a peer-to-peer campaign. So we do outreach to our fundraisers. And so they come from different like committees and things like that of our organization. So there's a couple of board members, there's a couple of our junior board members, a couple of our alumni, some of our staff sometimes participates. And so really just reaching out to folks and asking them to participate and sign up, and then the follow-up for everyone to set up their pages. And then what we also do is kind of create our own match for the campaign. So every year it kind of takes a different form. One year we actually had a corporate partner that was partnering with us for the entire year. So they made a donation that we were able to use towards saying that, we had like a $20,000 match. So you're basically any donation up to $20,000 would be matched 2 to 1. Other years, what we've done for engagement purposes as well is to reach out to some of our mid-level donors. Anyone that donates typically, I would say, from $250 up to $5,000 annually, and encourage them to make that gift to be part of that match pool, and letting them know that like their gift is going to go even further because it's going to be incentivizing those that are participating in our Giving Tuesday campaign. So it's really letting our donors be part of like the lift, so it's not just them giving a donation for our mission. Like, yes, they are doing that, but they know that like with them giving, it's actually going to encourage what we call, the next generation of donors. Majority of Giving Tuesday donations, I think across the board, are typically smaller donations, a lot of first time donors, things like that, younger population of donors. And so it's an opportunity to just encourage them to either, bump it up to 25 instead of like 15 or, things like that, knowing that it's going to be matched.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. You brought up a terrific point. So just remind me again, you said it was an internal match. Was it like an individual donor or a corporation or?
So year to year, it's been different. Like I said, like one year it was actually just like a corporate group that was making a donation towards our end of year efforts anyway. So we just asked them if they would be okay with us using their name and their logo to say that like this company is going to be the match sponsor this year, kind of thing. So it just gives them, more brand awareness and things like that with our donors, for example. But for the most part, since I've been here, it's been that kind of gathering of individual donors that are part of that match pool. So it's probably, I would say, year to year, it's probably anywhere from like 25 to 30 individuals that will make a donation, again, anywhere from $250 up to $5,000. That kind of inch us to a $20,000 match, or sometimes a little bit higher. Just depends on how everything is going.
Wow, that's a great strategy. Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that part of your campaign with us. That's a great way to just incentivize more gifts and also, just help your individual donors. Just noting that they are making such a great change for everyone in their community. Yeah, just curious, like how often do you actually reach out to your donors during this whole, campaign from September to the end of the year?
That's a good question. I feel like it's got to be at least 2 to 3 times a month in terms of kind of the lead up to things, and then the actual thing, and then the follow up from the thing. So I think it's more of just like either individual outreach to, like, let's say like individual outreach to fundraisers, and then kind of updates and, you know, encouraging and kind of rooting on kind of messaging to fundraisers, while at the same time doing like blast messaging to like our entire donor database, you know, letting them know about the campaign on our social media, all that kind of stuff. So, excuse me, they're getting that information coming from a couple of different places, either coming directly from me, like one-on-one to like a fundraiser, or to a match donor, asking them to make that donation, or they're getting just like a blast message in general about the campaign. So I would say it's probably, I would probably say it's a little bit less at the beginning and then a little bit more towards the end in terms of the number of like touch points that are happening. And it's not only coming from me necessarily. So some of the asks are being made by my executive director or by our founder, depending on the relationship. And then, you know, I'm just kind of swooping in to do the follow-up to make sure that the gift gets closed. So it's not only like all of this is happening by me alone. It's definitely a shared effort. Like the outreach to like our junior board, for example, is typically done by my colleague that is the liaison for them, our development manager. So I typically handle this, like the outreach to like our board members and to our alumni, or sometimes that's tag teamed with our director of programs, depending. So it's a little bit kind of shared around like who's going to answer the email the quickest, depending on who sent it. So if it's going to get answered quicker from my ED, then my ED sends it. If it's going to be answered quicker if I send it, then I'll send it. So it's just making sure that people are responsive and stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great that you have a team that you can kind of bounce back between, you know, you have people to you know, support each other in that way. Yeah, thanks for just a little bit of insight into, you know, how often you're gonna, you know, follow up. It seems like there's a regular flow of communication, which is good to know. Yeah, and so I saw a question come into the Q&A pane. That's a great reminder that I should just mention. Feel free to send in any of your questions right now, and we'll answer them in about 20 minutes or so. And so, yeah, right now I've had your campaign up, so I guess maybe now's a good time to just kind of give a little bit of inspiration for the folks who have joined. Can you share about like the message of this campaign? What it's all about, why Fiverr? It's a really great spin, play on words. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about the message of your Giving Tuesday campaign.
Yeah, so last year, you know, was the year that it was. We all are still kind of living through it, obviously, but for our organization, but all of our programming is in person. And so when COVID happened, we're here in New York City, you know, everything was shut down. We're all working from home, like, you know, a lot of folks probably on this call. And so we had to pivot to virtual programming and using Zoom. And funny story, we used to have desk phones here at our office. And so in a cost-saving measure, because we were leasing the phones, my ED had decided to move over to this thing called Zoom. And she was like, well, you know, we're going to use it for the phones and it'll make it easier. Program team doesn't have to have people calling them to their cell phone. They can use this Zoom app and, you know, they don't have to like have people, you know, getting their phone number, thing like that. And you can make phone calls where as long as you have the internet and your laptop somewhere. And they have like video conferencing, but we'll maybe use it, maybe not. And that was the end of January when we actually changed over our phones to Zoom. So it's just kind of crazy, obviously, how quickly everything kind of changed and turned upside down. But anyway, so all of that to say that we transitioned all of our programming to virtual programming, did a lot of like Zoom Hangouts, Google Hangouts, things like that to keep connected to our young people, did a lot of sessions and follow-up and things like that with our families, just to make sure that they knew they were not alone. A lot of the majority of the families that we serve were acutely impacted by all of the challenges of the pandemic. When we realized that we would not be able to guarantee a COVID-free summer camp experience, just with everything that was happening last summer, we decided to do camp virtually. And you're probably thinking like, how can you possibly bring the sleepaway camp experience home? But we came up with the name, actually, I kind of brag about it all the time here at the office that I was the one when we were brainstorming names in our staff meeting. I was like, Wi-Fi, because it's like Wi-Fi.
No, it's
So
so
that's where,
clever. I love
so
it. I
that's,
love it.
yeah, so that's where the Camp Wi-Fi came from. And so we provided the same programming, and we had a small team of probably around 14 or 15 staff members quarantined together up at our camp. And they live streamed all of this, similar activities that the kids would have experienced if they were up at camp. So they're getting to see the campgrounds, things like that. So our nature education at the creek, learning about fishing and things like that, doing exercising and practicing basketball and things like that at the basketball courts and campfires and all of those things just being live streamed to the kids at home. We shipped them a care package that had all of the supplies that they would need to participate. They still signed up for their electives for the different sports or activities they wanted to do. So they would be able to participate, their camp t-shirt, all of that stuff. So, and that was part of our COVID-19 response, including providing resources on our website for families to access in English and Spanish. And also we did limited family retreats up at our camp where they were socially distanced, able to stay to themselves, and like one of our cabins later in the summer as well too. So the story of our Giving Tuesday campaign and our end of year appeal last year was really kind of how we came together as a community and harnessed our creativity to come up with these virtual offerings of our programming, and to really, as you see there, it says staying connected, but really staying connected to our youth, to our young people, to our families, so they knew that we were continuing to be a consistent part of their lives in the midst of a lot of uncertainty and anxiety with the pandemic.
Yeah. Wow. What a story. Yeah. Creative for sure. And kudos to you and your team. I mean, I know that now more than ever, it's so important to stay connected with our youth. And I really love this whole idea. And that must have been fun for you guys up at camp. It was just the staff up there, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a part of the quarantining crew. I was actually in my apartment in Queens, making all the FedEx labels for all of the care packages. Just by virtue of my function here at the organization, I tend to use our FedEx account more often to send like auction items to donors after the benefit. And because I just knew how to navigate the account easier, I was just like, we could just make these labels ahead of time and then save the PDFs and you guys print them. And I thought I was passing it off to somebody on the team, on the program team, and they're like, actually, can you help us? So I was a bit more involved in our camp operations last summer than I typically am, but it was really cool just to be able to help out with that lift, because it was a lot of digital content. So we did have live streaming, but we also had some pre-recorded content as well too. And it allowed for some of our summer staff is international, so they weren't able to come to America last summer because of the pandemic. So, we have some of our seasonal staff are from New Zealand, they're from Australia, they're from Ireland and things like that. So they were actually able to still participate in our programming through pre-recorded content that they were able to record from home. We had like a ton of stuff on YouTube that we were linking to our pages and all this kind of stuff. So it was really a huge collective effort, everyone giving a little bit to bring this programming to our young people. And where we typically have around 400-ish, a little bit north of 400 or so of our kids participate in our camp, we still had roughly around 90% of the kids still participate.
Wow.
And that's battling Zoom fatigue, after they had 6 or so months of school via Zoom and whatnot. So being able to weather that and still keep them engaged was really a huge accomplishment of our program team, and I'm extremely proud of all the work that they were able to do in my little part with my FedEx labels.
No, yeah, well, congratulations. That sounds incredible. And yeah, our young people are troopers, and just shout out to them. through all of this craziness.
Mhm.
So I know we have like a few minutes left here. Just want to ask a couple more questions before we open it up
Please.
to answer the Q&A. So looking at the campaign, just curious, specifically what tools of CauseVox helped your Giving Tuesday campaign reach, reach the goals that you were looking for? Was there any one particular tool that you felt was most important?
Yeah, I mean, I think the ease of use overall has been really helpful for me with CauseVox. We've been using it. Um, this will be our this will be our fourth year using CauseVox. I'm actually in the midst of setting up the page right now, and hopefully we'll be ready to launch and getting people signed up as fundraisers starting next week. The ease of use has always been really easy for me. And then the ease of use for the user. So for our fundraisers to be able to log in and set up their pages and edit their pages as they want. If they want to add a picture or, add a note of their like personal Fiverr story and their connection to our organization, on top of the like format language that we come up with. We just find it really easy to use, easy to share across like social media platforms with the link and stuff like that. Easy to make quick updates. The reporting is great. The ability to allow for donors to help cover the credit card processing fees, to kick in that little extra, is also great. The database our CRM that we use at our organization, is one of the big box companies. They do not allow for us to do that. So we eat the credit card processing fees of our other donation stuff that we do throughout the year. So being able to offer that, and a lot of donors do decide to do that more often than not if they have the option. Like with most things, if people will do it if you ask. So we definitely appreciate having that. And I would say the biggest part that has always given me peace of mind, and I promise to everybody who's watching, this is not me just trying to shout out CauseVox, nothing like that. But, I use it. I am a client and stuff like that. But, I've worked at previous organizations before coming to Fiverr and using CauseVox. And we have depended on our CRM's donation platform to do Giving Tuesday stuff. And without fail, every year they have crashed like on Giving Tuesday, and credit cards being declined and whatnot, just because of the volume of gifts, because they have a lot of clients across the country and across the world, and Giving Tuesday is a big deal now. And so driving traffic to your website and asking people to make donations is the basic premise of Giving Tuesday. And there's, of all days for it to not work, Giving Tuesday ain't the day. And so we have never run into that issue with CauseVox. So shout out to y'all and whoever y'all are using for processing, because I think it's Stripe. But we've never run into that issue with people having difficulty processing their credit cards or anything like that, especially on the day of. We do our fundraising and start doing stuff leading up to Giving Tuesday, so that kind of alleviates the pressure of that day as well. But on that particular day, that when we need everything to be working, we've never had an issue of that kind of nature. And I've lived that at my previous job, of literally having to call donors on that day and ask them for their credit card information, because I could see on the back end that their card got declined like 4 or 5 times. And imagining just like the frustration of a donor who then navigates away from your page and is like, oh, I'll just come back later, maybe something's wrong, and then the later never comes. Making sure that like for that 2-minute attention span that person has, that they're able to quickly make that donation and go about their day is really important.
Yeah, wow, that's a really good point to bring up. Yeah, thanks to our IT team, they make sure all of our servers are like all the loading speeds are up to mark, and everything like that. So we're grateful for that as well. So just lastly, what specific advice would you give to similar organizations looking to raise for year end, or maybe they want to try out a Giving Tuesday for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I would say think about like what it is that you're doing for your year end. The messaging, like I said, the messaging, the look and the feel of what, and the theme of what you want your end of year appeal pieces to look like. And then don't reinvent the wheel, just repurpose the same content, because it's likely that the folks that would be participating for Giving Tuesday will be a mix, if not a different network of folks than your annual appeal givers, who typically might be the ones that write the check and mail it in to answer your mailed appeal. So yeah, I would definitely say to, repurpose stuff that you've already written, for the end of your appeal, and don't like try to think it has to be its own standalone effort. I would say that there's an opportunity for engagement. So not just your board members, not just your junior board, or, a subsection of those that might volunteer or are your, biggest ambassadors for the organization, that there's opportunities across the board. Like we have those folks, like I said, board members, junior board members. We've had seasonal staff participate. We've had alumni participate. We've had former staff even sign up and do pages. So I mean, we have had success with like engaging people just across the spectrum. So don't just, limit yourself to, maybe just your junior board because they're young, or your YPC because they're younger, da, da, da. Like, I mean, yes, reach out to them, and also think about some of your other folks. Like if you have someone that is a constant volunteer to your events, or some other, there might be other people out there that might be interested in doing it. And I would say you can start small. If you're doing it for the first time, maybe you don't want to do a peer-to-peer, maybe you just want to drive traffic to your site to make the donation. And so CauseVox is great for that as well too, with just like setting up a standalone page. It doesn't have to have the peer-to-peer aspect if you don't want to. And you can set a goal if you want it to be focused on a specific program that you all do, or something related. At one of my previous employers, we did our Giving Tuesday campaign. I think the first time we participated, we said it was on, they were fundraising to support our healthy eating and nutrition initiatives at the school that I was working at. So, and it's a broad enough spectrum to like cover a variety of things. So that's like, nutrition classes, that's additional staff in the kitchen, that's being able to, there's just so many different things that it can cover, and not just like, we want it to be to build something or whatever the case may be, that it could literally just be towards one aspect of your programming that you want to highlight for the end of year. So I say just don't box yourself in. And I think it's an opportunity to try and get it out there. I feel like the popularity of Giving Tuesday, a lot of people know about it, even if they're not the most philanthropic or involved with any specific nonprofit. I think the name and the branding of what Giving Tuesday is kind of like in the ether these days. So your organization doing it is not it's not like uncommon, or like people are going to be like, what, you guys are doing Giving Tuesday? Like, I don't think it's going to be that kind of vibe at all. And there is saturation, of course, like it seems like every nonprofit is doing Giving Tuesday, but the same way that there are probably a ton of other nonprofits that are also nonprofit camps, there's also a ton of nonprofits that are also, schools, and whatever it is your organization does, it's probably another nonprofit that does similar work too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even in your state. So, so it means there's always going to be competition regardless, like whether you're doing Giving Tuesday or just doing your regular end of year appeal stuff.
Right.
So don't let that, stymie you to think that like you can't do Giving Tuesday as well. I think setting realistic goals around both fundraising as well as engagement, of like how many people participated, as well as thinking about like what the dollar amount ended up being. And thinking about like what happens after this, right? Like you've got some first time donors. What's the follow up? Are we sending them stuff about volunteering? Are we making sure that they're on our email list, so now they're getting our e-newsletter? Are they a friend of somebody who does volunteer here, right? So like now can we have that friend reach out to them and say, hey, come to a program with me? or, come to the benefit with me in the spring. Like, there's other ways that you can be thinking about how you might want to engage folks. So thinking of those next steps after Giving Tuesday, after the end of year appeal, of what comes next to hopefully keep them engaged over the course of the year.
Wow. Melissa, yes, you hit literally every point. I could not have said it better myself. But yeah, thank you for just giving a lot of key takeaways for our listeners who are joining. And yeah, for those of you who are considering, running either, your first Giving Tuesday or maybe another one, you've already done it, we'd be happy to have you on CauseVox with us running your campaign. We do have free plans. You can raise funds for free, or we do have some other economical plans as well for you to get up and running. We are always offering demos. If you schedule one with us, we can get you started just right in time for this year. And so I just want to open it up for any questions that you might have. I saw that a couple came into the Q&A. Let's see here. Chad says, so the thing I worry about is the first year we've stepped up from the bad give us money to make a difference to your money will help us develop care packages, but I'm worried about Giving Tuesday clashing with year-end donation ask. I don't know if you can speak to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an opportunity to, it really depends on who is on your mailed appeal list versus who might be receiving the Giving Tuesday stuff. So I think, again, if you're doing a peer-to-peer campaign, I think that's where you might have your best bet in maybe hitting up different people. Because if your mailed appeal typically goes to like your annual donors who give year, whatever, versus like if you have a young professional committee or you have maybe new board members coming on that their networks haven't been axed yet, maybe those are the people that you reach out to support a peer-to-peer opportunity, because then you're tapping into networks that maybe aren't on your mailing list right now, so they wouldn't be getting that messaging. And again, if you're using end of year appeal stuff kind of as your base to kind of parse out to the different kind of things that you'll be messaging about throughout the campaign, like overall end of year campaign, you can tweak, what goes on your Giving Tuesday thing versus what's being in your mail appeal. Like, it can have similar look. But if you say that if you want to do something specific for Giving Tuesday, like you wanted to fund, high school tours, or high school tours, we do high school tours, as well as like college visits or something like that. Like if you wanted to, fund a specific aspect of your programming, and then your end of year appeal is more general of just like support our mission, end of year, do your thing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, any other questions for Melissa? Yeah, this has been awesome. I always love Fiverr's Giving Tuesday creative campaigns, and thank you so much for just exploring this with us and how other people can get involved in this great day, because I think people just really want to make a difference, right? And so I think this is the perfect time to do that. So
absolutely. And people give to people, and if you're doing a peer-to-peer campaign, and your volunteers, whoever they may be, board members, YPCs, junior boards, however, whatever they may be, if they're excited about your mission, if they are passionate about the work that your organization does, then they are great advocates for your work. So yeah, I would definitely, think about how you can engage the people who already are ambassadors for your organization just by virtue of their involvement with your work.
perfect. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There was
Thank you.
one question that was actually put in the chat. Elizabeth asked, could you please put up the first page that explains the 3 different participation in programs. If you don't have it on hand, don't worry about pulling it up now. But I think what could be great is if we either like maybe share the link to the campaign so people can take a look at the campaign from last year, if you feel comfortable doing that, or, you know, maybe just reaching out to Elizabeth to share a little bit more, because it looks like she'd love to see more about just like the examples of how you've set up the page and the programs and all of that. And then there was one more question that just came in from Maggie that asked, do you segment messaging differently to those who have already given in the last 3 months, or remove them from your lists, or something else?
Yeah, if someone has made a recent gift, we typically would like remove them from like the mailed appeal. I mean, if they're on our email list, they're just kind of getting everything that everyone else is getting. But if they have given like super recently, we typically would remove them from the appeal list. Or if kind of depends. In the past, we have tried to do like some personalization, so have the mail house do some of it and then have some of the stuff come back to our office. But because like last year, for example, because we weren't working in the office, we just had the mail house do everything. So if you have, you know, the wherewithal to pull certain people for like individual kind of personalization of letters and things like that, you can either write notes of like you just wanted them to get like the marketing insert that comes with the letter or something like that, that has like, you know, statistics or things like that that I typically include in our mailings, with like a thank you for your support. This is just for like your FYI kind of thing. So that's something that you might think about if you have like, you know, if you have the capacity to do something like that. You can do that so they can still get something in the mail, but you're not asking them for money. It's more of just like, thank you for your recent support. We just wanted to share this information with you kind of thing. But if not, then if you don't have the capacity to do that kind of personalization, then I'll just pull them off the list, so they don't get the ask or whatever.
Gotcha. Super insightful. Thank you so much, Melissa. This has been great. And thanks, Jenna, for leading the conversation.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you all for engaging, and great questions. This has been so much fun so far.